And we are live. Welcome, everybody, to episode 27. Tonight, we have a very special event. Every episode special, but it's even extra special tonight because we have, for the first time, our good friend Alex and our returning guest host, Sam. Our topic for tonight is one of those preparedness projects that everyone fantasizes about, but very few actually roll it out. But it's rain catchment, and it's gonna be great. Just coincidentally, I've been trying to plan this for like a month and a half with Alex because Alex is in the business where he does gutter systems and stuff like that. And it just so happens the other day, Alex was over helping Sam starting a rain catchment system at his at the Goose in the Garden Ranch. So Sam is the resident handy everything, okay? And so him and Alex are working together. Sam planned it all out, and they worked putting it together and everything. So we're going to talk about it from A to Z tonight, how the idea come about, the planning stages, lessons learned, what it was like to install, what were those game day changes that they made, and how many phases are going to be for this system and what it's used, etc., etc. So, without any further ado, let's start over to go to see Sam. And Sam, how did you sit there and get motivated and start trying to do this project, and what did it entail?
Well, I guess I could start at the beginning. A couple of years ago, when I started gardening, it only takes you a few minutes to do some research to figure out that rainwater is one of the best things you can do for your garden. And so then becomes the question, how do you collect the rainwater and how do you get it into the garden? And at the time I had a small garden, watched a few YouTube videos on how to do this. And I went and obtained a barrel, 55-gallon barrel. And I made sure that it had food grade product in it to begin with, and it wasn't like an oil barrel or some other toxic chemical. So I then set it up on a couple of cinder blocks to elevate it. I put like a spigot at the bottom so that I could connect a garden hose to it and gravity feed it from its elevation into the garden. And then I went and obtained a screen to go over the small hole in the top. And that worked well for a few months, and then I modified it. I cut the entire opening off the top of it, and I got a larger screen to go over it, and that made the water flow better and not run off the top of this thing. So I was able to collect more water. By doing that, I also was able to periodically clean it better, because then the whole top of it's open. So you can disconnect it, roll it on the ground, and soap it out and put it back into place. So that became easier to maintain that way. However, now I'm gardening at the homestead at Goose in the Garden, and much bigger garden, much bigger needs. And so then you go big or go home with the water. So I was going to collect and store a great deal more water than just a barrel. We decided on IBC totes. We decided we were going to obtain 4 of them, price shopped them. We ended up buying them for $75 each. Food grade material was stored in them previously. I've heard from our buddy Nate that he's got some he found for $50 each. So you can beat the bushes and find a better deal than we did, but we were happy with what we got. We were able to obtain 4 of them. Trailer them to the property and store them until we were ready for our project. Let's see, I had some notes here. Oh, one thing I found out, I was surprised to hear it, but at some states or cities or different municipalities, you're not even allowed to do this. Yeah. So for in this area, I don't think there's any issues. But in some of my research, I came across that there's ordinances or laws or something where they don't want you collecting your own rainwater, which is definitely a problem.
That's just like not even having solar panels. Don't let you
Yes.
collect solar power either.
Well, yeah, that's a thing too. You're right. Anyway, so like with anything, I do a little bit of research. I asked some other people what they were doing, watched some videos, came up with a parts list. Ordered the parts in advance, and some of those parts that are things that I hadn't thought of. When you're doing some of this research, you come up with things that you didn't know. And I knew that water purification was a thing, and it just so happens that Cindy can use chlorine dioxide to purify the water, which is good because you don't want algae and crap building up in your water. Another thing that I learned is that there's companies that manufacture covers that fit perfectly over the IBC tote. They're made for them. They have zippers on them and everything. They're just custom made to go over these totes. So you can put them over all of your totes and keep the sunlight out of them.
I was wondering why you went that route versus traditionally people paint the IBC totes. Mm-hmm. So what made you go the route of the covers?
My thoughts were simplicity, to just order them and put them on and get it done. But if you were to paint them, I suppose you'd have to make sure your paint wasn't going to peel or chip off the tote. And quite honestly, although I'm sure that's a thing, I've never seen one painted. I was in a business before I retired where I saw them all day long, and I can't recall ever seeing one painted. Of course, they were in use and stacked and being shipped around and stuff. But long story short, when I came across covers, that was a no-brainer for me. Just get 4 covers and be done with it. Then you got to shop for filtration. There's many different ways to filter the water. One of them is the initial right on top of the gutter that we were talking about earlier. That keeps the leaves and a lot of the heavy debris from getting into the system to begin with. Another thing that I ran across in my research was a trap, what you can install in the line, and the heavy particles and materials can fall into the trap as they're going down through the gutter system before they get to your catchment. We're going to probably do that as well in the future as another redundant part of the filtration, because eventually what I want to do is be able to have this water that we can drink it if we want. And then the filters that I did order for the totes are they're much like a basketball net. They hang down in, so the water pours through them into the container, and so periodically pull them out like a sock and rinse them off and then stick them back in. Okay. So those were the filters I was looking at, but I want to have at least, initially I'm going to have 2 of them and set up, as soon as we get them. But I want to investigate this trap thing too. That I thought that was very intriguing. And of course, the trap would have a plug at the bottom of the tube. You could periodically flush it, open the valve up. It would fall right out onto the ground, all the material, and then you could cap it back up and get ready for your next rainfall. Let's see, filtration. Those were my notes, but I know you had some questions as to.
Yeah. So, like when you're talking about that filter, so you're talking about a debris filter, um,
Yes.
and I think that's really important as a preventative thing. But I know in the past, because when I first got into preparedness, water filtration and rain catchment was one of those like deep dive things. I was like just consuming everything that was out there. And
Mhm.
one of the steady things I've seen in recent years is people using whole house filters with their
Mhm.
rain catchment, you know? And I think when it comes to the rain catchment systems, you use a series. So obviously a debris filter. So I mean, you put filters on the gutters, for debris. Put debris filter on your rain catchment for your storage. And when you're getting that water out of there, run it through some kind of water purification, filtration, so you can make it drinkable or what have you. It's not like a single bullet kind of thing. But again, this is only phase one for you, and you already have two great uses, between the gardens and the animal paddock. So, I mean, that's worth it right there.
Mhm.
Um, you know, I'm trying to think. I guess if you had a big enough roof, you might be able to supplement some of your water for if you had a pool, you know. Um, and if somebody had, some acreage, you can do some pergola type rain catchment and all kinds of cool stuff. But
Mhm.
that's a whole other discussion. All right. So um, let me throw some questions out and let's see. All right. So, Alex, okay,
Yes.
we'll start with the top, with the water coming off the roof. And when you go to do a gutter install, okay, how do you like size the system? I mean, you got to determine how much water is going to come off, angles, what's the lingo? What are the
Well,
calculations?
if we're talking about for water catchment, you know, go just gutters alone on the roof. I mean, tile and metal roof, I always recommend bigger gutters. Water comes out a lot faster when it comes to like tile and metal roof. So you need something that catches the water and keeps it there and not overflow. And also to downspout placement. So if you have plenty of downspouts in a certain area, for example, anything like 10, 20 feet, you don't really need two downspouts. You're good with one. But again, it all depends on how big the roof is, how pitched it is, because if it's really pitched, the water comes down even faster. But to be honest, it's just that simple. Mainly most of the time I could look at it and see it, and of course the homeowners pretty much could tell you like, yo, a whole bunch of water. As soon as they start saying that, you kind of already know that you
Yeah.
might need some bigger gutters or a little bit more downspouts. You can kind of tell on the ground, where it digs into, so you can kind of see a trail of water and how hard it hits. So, and mainly in
Yeah.
the valleys, but no, I mean
You know,
6 inches standard for the roof size that the homes have here in Florida, and just how many
so
downspouts you're gonna need.
well, when you say 6 inches, are you talking about 6 inches on the
The top,
depth?
yeah, no, 6 inch on the top, yeah, because that's just how it is. They're mainly 5 inch the height of it.
Okay. Okay.
It's just how wide they are on the top. Because I do K style. There's so many different variations of gutters. So you got box gutters, you got K style gutters, you got smooth D style gutters. So, but either way, they're pretty much almost at the same size of length. Whether it's 7 inch, 6 inch, you got some that are 8 inch gutters, but that's
Mhm.
industrial. That's when you have like a huge building, metal building, and that's the ones they put into. But like if
Yeah.
we're talking about just simple homes for water catchments, 6 inch, K style or 6 inch box gutter will do just fine. I think that the most important thing is the downspout to make sure it's wide enough for the water to come down and not overflow and jump over
Yeah.
uh, out of the gutter.
It's amazing to me how many houses I've seen in Florida that don't have gutters all the way around or no
Mm,
gutters at all.
no,
Is
uh,
I mean, obviously we go through dry spells, but when it rains, man, it's a monsoon,
yeah,
and you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the reasons you don't want to have water running over, I'm guessing from my visuals, because if you don't have your gutter size properly or cleaned, then you're going to get all this water that's going to come and dig trenches around the side of your house.
And then your
That's going to,
foundation is all, yeah.
yes,
And your
that's
house
what.
starts cracking. I've seen AC units bent to the side because there's water that hits down in the foundation of the AC, and then the pipes of the AC, the little copper pipes. You know, I mean, it takes a while, but you know they'll break off, and then you got more expenses to take care of. And then also too, if they're clogged, and then just say the water overruns, it'll get behind the gutter because it goes behind the drip edge, and then you got water leakage inside because it goes to the roof deck. So it's like stuff,
yeah. Those are.
I'm not sure why they don't have no gutters like that. Like, at least, you know, if houses should come with gutters, but they don't.
Well, you know, for me, it's like when we had Hurricane Milton come through, I ran into problems where water was coming in from the ground level because there was just so much water. They had to dig around the outside of my house and reseal at the foundation. Yards all tore up because so much water. It was just the gutters could not keep up. I have gutters on my house, but it just could not keep up with the volume, and it just tore everything up. And we had water coming through the walls. Now that can happen too because it gets under the easement under the roof? Is that what it's called?
The drip edge, because it's behind the drip edge, so the water rises up, and then it'll get into your roof deck, which is wood. It absorbs the water, so then it's already in your house.
Yeah, and I think it's important too that you make sure your gutters are secure, because with the storms that we have, either it's the summer thunderstorms or the hurricanes, that's going to tear off if it's not, maintained properly. And it'll rip off some of that easement with you too, depending on where you're doing it. So, little PSA for everybody. Okay. Another thing that was amazing to me: how many people don't have screens on top of their gutters?
Almost everybody. Okay. It's rare.
And with leaves, just leaves alone. Now, I grew up in Connecticut, so there's trees everywhere. We have the fall, so everything just dies off the trees. Mm-hmm. Here, it's a little bit different. I got several trees on my property, and it's like some will go bare bones in the fall and winter, and then some are still green, and, so I'll get leaves on this side of the property and then nothing over here. So we do have a lot of leaves that, depending on the trees around your house, that can get into your systems. Now, how durable is that gutter material? So say you do it all right and you get your screens put in. Is any of it like consumables where you got to change it out periodically? Because I think you were showing something earlier that had
with the screen on it. These are like the best you're gonna get, and that's because water will flow through this very smoothly, but not even as much dirt as you would think, because they're so small. I don't know if you can see that. But the gutters, if you clean them and maintain them, they can at least last you 20 plus years.
Oh, awesome.
And with the gutter guards also too, it'll last you 20 plus years. Again, depending on how much rain we have those years, or how much, where you're at, if you're closer to the coast or whatnot. But other than that, I think gutters, I've been to houses where gutters been sitting up there for like 20 plus years, and there's nothing wrong with them. They just want to change them because they look dingy.
Yeah. Well, maybe a good rule of thumb is you change out your roof, change out your gutters.
Yeah. I've been to houses where they don't change the gutters. They put the gutters back up, the old gutters, but the roofers don't do a good job when they put them back up. So they have to call me, and I do maintenance to them, or repair them, or pitch them back to where they need to be.
Let's see here. Let's pause for a second and put up a comment here from the audience. I've always wondered, even though the water is being filtered, is it safe to use water from asphalt roofs? Wonder if all the chemicals on there are a no-go or would require extra filtration. So, what are your thoughts, Sam? What have you seen in your research?
Well, my research on that is I would run it through my Berkey or my Alexa Pure before I would drink it. Or one of the other things that, for example, in my go bag, I've got water filter. But yeah, I would filter it, anything that's coming off the roof. Now, would that be my first choice? No. But in a down-grid situation, I want to have options. And one of those options I want to have is to be able to drink that water if I have to. Having said that, I literally, when I set this thing into motion, I positioned it between the house and the garden, and it's also real close to the well. And so I'm going to have the well fill it, and then the rainwater, keep it full. So I'm going to have 4 totes of water year round above ground.
So now it's like basically as your initial phase, you're using it as a top off because you have an active well. And then as you expand the system, you can sit there and I would say, keep your well, but way developers are going, they might just suck it out of the aquifer right from under you anyways. But it's a good option for whatever, wells do collapse in Florida or they get contaminated for whatever reason. So having the rain catchment could be a lifesaver. So it's good to have that both. Because somebody might say, well, I got a well. I don't need it. I mean, you don't need something until you need it. That's how it goes.
Right. And that does go back to the fact that I've seen the rainwater work better than anything else I've tried. City water, well water, doesn't matter. The rain, so something about it. I'm not an expert on that, but visually I can see the plants do better with the rainwater.
Okay. All right. So Devo saying, what did you use to wrap your totes, Sam?
There is, I ordered 4 because I have 4 totes. There's covers, custom made covers that fit these things like a glove. And Alex and I put them on, and they were pretty easy to do. They had zippers on them, so you can unzip the front and get to your valve to turn on and off the water flow. So they were custom designed, easy to obtain. I can't recall the price, but it all seemed reasonable. At the time, it seemed easier to do it that way than to try to paint them. And we don't want a lot of UV coming into the light. To the water that could cause some some algae or whatever.
Yeah.
So we don't want that.
Very good. All right. So let's see here. I got some more questions. All right. So, So Sam, so if you're looking at it through the lens of rain catchment, okay, versus Alex, with there being, rain catchment, the gutter system is a major component of it. Okay. In your research, Sam, did you find that there was niche configurations for rain catchment versus traditional gutter systems for the house? Did you notice anything different?
I specifically was going to collect water off a rooftop, so I went down that. My research was focused on that particular way of doing it. But there's a lot of creative ways that people have to do it. And it's funny, once you start thinking about this and you're walking around, when Alex was doing that while we were there, he said, well, he pointed to one of the sheds and said, well, we could collect water off that too. And then there's the pole barn in the back, and we were looking at that. And so there's a lot of different creative ways to do it. For me, I just focused mainly on catching water off the roof. Once again, using what I had in front of me to make something happen.
I would think that the variations would probably narrow down to what the downspouts were and their positioning. So I was thinking about it earlier. Traditionally you have, the pipe come down and then it spouts out onto your ground. That's how we do for a normal gutter system. Somebody might put a rock under it or a little rectangle catch basin so it doesn't dig into your yard or whatever the case may be. But if you're trying to put it in a barrel or a tote, then you'll want to sit there, probably maybe sometimes cut it higher maybe in the pipe so it comes here and then goes right across instead of going down like this and under. Did you notice a difference there?
Yeah, and you've got some pictures of us putting it together. And in one of the pictures you show Alex putting one together at the front of the house that does go into a barrel, and you can see where he's positioning it to flow over the top of the barrel and through the filter.
All right, let me dig up one of those. Was that first one?
It was the first one, yeah.
All right, so let me open that one here.
Yeah, that one's not finished yet though, because I have to put another little extension at the bottom elbow with another elbow facing directly down into the barrel.
Yeah. And you guys can't see my mouse, right? Or can you?
No,
I can't.
No,
we see the picture, but not the mouse.
Okay, so where the spout is right now, normally that would just keep going straight down to the ground.
Yeah, to the ground.
And that's that barrel's and on the cinder blocks. It's probably maybe 5 feet off the ground.
About 4 feet. I would say.
4 feet. Yeah.
4.5.
So Alex, let me ask you this. So since that is like partway up the side of the house, and then you got to sit there and, like you said earlier, put another elbow on there, is there a certain way you got to secure those two parts together so the water doesn't just spray out like you're holding the tip of a hose?
Well, I screw them in, but no, I mean that water smoothly will go right through all that. No water would come out of there or anything like that. No, unless you do it wrong, but no, it's good. But you just insert the elbow into the pipe back, just like the elbow go inside of the extension, and you put it in maybe like 2-3 inches further in, and then the same thing with the elbow, so the water will run smooth. There's no no seam that it has to go through, just over it.
Yeah. Now, this brings up a good point. So, Alex, you're on a ladder now, but you're by yourself. And some of the other photos that I've seen, you guys had to do tandem type things. So what are some of the major tools or accessories that you guys had to use? So obviously ladders, maybe some sawhorses to custom cut.
This was pretty basic. There was no corners or anything. The only thing is just measure. I mean, not even the overhang of the as you can see, the roof up there, the top elbows. Like you can just connect 2 elbows together. I did have to cut the elbows back a little bit, but that's because it was a little. Well, I mean, this is a different one, but yeah, this one had to measure. It's like 3. I think it was like 3 feet for the extension on the top. And then maybe like a foot or 2, like about a foot at the bottom extension, just to get the elbow to go in the barrel. But just a drill, quarter of an bit, and pretty much it. Just snips. Like I said, it's not really. I mean, I could show Sam and Sam seeing it. I mean, he could. It's not as difficult as it looks. It's just a little bit more on the physical side. Like you gotta run around and jump on the ladders and stuff and get on the roof maybe once or twice. But other than that, it's real simple. And I think if somebody wants to do some water catchment and they want to do this project, themselves, I'm pretty confident they could do it on their own.
Yeah, sometimes I worry about. Let me see. People say, "Oh, I can do that," and they don't. Any kind of construction thing you should do properly. So working teams is why I bring up this photo. Got 2 different kinds of ladders, elevated. And there's no platform, right? Those are double stacked IBC totes, Sam?
Yeah, they're designed to be stacked. like that. The way the framing is built, the metal frame on them, they actually sit right on top of each other and they don't fall off or slide around. So I knew ahead of time I could stack them like that, and that way it takes up a whole lot less space, on the ground. And it also provided me the ability to directly gravity feed off the top ones into the garden. So I've got a lot of options with the connections on these things. I could have the bottom ones totally separate from the water flow and just have well water, and the top ones just have rainwater, for example. So I've got options with them all set up like that, the way they're going to be connected together. In this photo, you've got me leveling the foundation that I want to set them on. I mean, a lot of people would pour a concrete slab or whatever, but I prefer this simple method of just, getting some pavers, patio blocks, whatever they're called, and setting them out, leveling the ground, and putting all that on there.
And what's the reasoning besides whether you put a slab or tiles or what have you? What's the logic behind that, so the audience could know?
Well, a lot of it's really just aesthetics. You could set them on the cinder blocks right on the ground if you wanted to, but I wanted to be able to not have to worry about weeds growing up under this thing, or debris. I want to be able to just take a hose or a rake or whatever and clean out from under it. We've got a lot of chickens and geese and Muscovy ducks walking around, making nests, eggs. A lot of animals running around in this area, and I wanted to be able to have a nice clean surface that I can get in there and maintain, rather than just weeds growing up under this thing.
Yeah, and then drawing them to look in there and what have you. I think there's something to be said for things to be level. So I mean, yeah, you can probably just throw it on the ground, but you got the weed issue. But then, how level is the ground? At least here, if you're gonna make the effort, you could sit there and use the paving sands and stuff like that, and keep it all nice and level. So your water, your tote is not tilted. I mean, because it's really heavy, so it's not like it's gonna move per se. But you start getting into some of the, using gravity to move the water. You don't want uneven air pockets in there and different things. So that's good. That attention to detail makes a lot of difference. You don't want to look like a big junkyard either. So,
right.
All right. And let me move off from that. And all right. So, question for you, Alex: is it viable? All right. So a traditional gutter comes down, and you got the spout, or even the one we use with you guys use with the barrel. Okay. Could you do a tandem off of there? So you got two barrels.
You said a T?
A tandem.
Oh, yeah.
The main gutter, and then you break off the two different barrels.
And you can. You could. There's a lot of variations, like I said, of water catchment. So many different tools you can use to make it happen. And that's one of the things that I wanted to talk to Tim on another time. Was I had an idea for the existing holes that are already there for the downspouts that are coming out to the big totes. Two pieces of P pipe coming together on a T, and then maybe having like the long piece of P pipe, the ones with the catch debris, and then you have another one to come out towards the break off. Anyways, I have to draw all that up for him.
Yeah.
There's so many different variations because once he sent me that video, I started going down a little rabbit hole. So there's so many different types that it just giving me ideas.
Right. Oh yeah. Well, the reason I brought up about the tandem is because, all right, so traditionally, a lot of the videos I've seen, Usually they have it spouted into one, and then there's some kind of a connector pipe from one barrel to another barrel, one tote to another tote, and the water pressure just pushes and fills them up. There might be some reasons why somebody doesn't want to do that right away, but they want to have the capacity. So that's why I say if they do a tandem, go into 2 barrels, maybe you plan on moving them, swapping them out, and you don't want to go through the process. Oh, let me cut this open, and you're going to move one of them somewhere else or whatever. The configuration might be different. You don't want to be pigeonholed like that. So you just got the top. And, how hard could it be to sit there and change from a tandem to a single if you go and put an IBC tote, which holds more, right? So get into the phase of expansions. Plus, one thing I liked is that even though Sam was doing some stuff before with barrels, and even though they upgraded to the IBC totes, they were able to repurpose the barrels to have even more capacity. Mm-hmm. So you're definitely not moving IBC totes around with the water in them. But I'm trying to think. See, 55. Let me do quick math here. It's 8 pounds per gallon. 8 times 55. 1, 2. That's wow. That's heavy. I don't think a hand truck is going to move that. But you know what? It brings in a point, Sam, when we were talking in the pre-show about distribution. Okay. And until you have a system in place for distribution, maybe you fill up the barrel halfway where it's light enough you can move it like with a hand truck. So just say you got a bunch of the blue 55-gallon drums, you fill it up part way, you move it with the hand truck, put another barrel in there for rotation. Again, it's another phased in approach, and you're not totally scarring your barrels in a way where you can't repurpose them later. So, all right. Talked about that. And so what was it like to order parts? And I would say that, and we'll break this question up into 2 parts. So let's start with you, Alex. So what's it like to order parts for to gutter systems in general, since you do this for a living?
I've been doing it for a while, so it's pretty simple. Just figure out how much linear feet you need, and the accessories like end caps, how many hangers, because you gotta put one every 2 feet, and of course how many downspouts and which way do you want the downspout to pour the water out at the bottom. So that's pretty much it. I mean, nothing.
Well, is there like a gutter supply depot or?
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of them. I use Town and Country, so they supply a lot of. Even though they're all the same, but that's the one that I go to most of the time. And
are those generally open to the public?
No.
No. Okay.
No, you gotta have an account with them, and
okay.
You can go, but I think unless I've sent people there, but they use my account.
Yeah.
They won't sell it. Yeah, they won't sell to the public.
Yeah, the reason I bring that up, I mean, so if I'm a guy, I'm like, I want to check this out. What do? I go to Lowe's or Home Depot. Let me see what they got. Let me see what things cost.
One of the things about that is they won't sell you the gutter already made. They'll sell you the coil. So if you don't have the machines, you're just gonna have a rolling coil. Because I have the machine. But Home Depot and Lowe's will sell you the part already ran through the machine. It's a softer gauge, so it probably won't last us 20 years plus, because it's like a 24 gauge. It's real soft. The one that typically we use for gutters, 6 inches, 27, and 7 inches, 32. And they're 15 feet, so you're gonna have seams every 15 feet. So, like for example, say I had 53 feet. So you're going to have seams every 15 feet.
Now, when you go to, say, Home Depot, whatever, is it already angled or is it flat and then they have the machine and they fold it?
No, they send it to you like that. They send it to you already ready. Yeah.
Okay.
And other accessories and everything there. I mean, the elbows are the same. The hangers are different, but they all work the same. The gutter is the only thing. Like if you have anything under like 15 feet, you can do it. You can go get it. Unless you don't mind some seams, but then now you got to put, caulking and glue, and sometimes that's just most time for a long time, but permanent work because
So I know a lot of times people are like, "Oh, I'll just hire somebody for whatever trade it is," and like, "Oh my God, why is this so expensive?" Well, you got to have the machine, you got to have the tools, and you got to have the experience.
Well,
if you got the machine.
Well, the thing is because since the coil is a little different, it's a little heavier machinery. They sell it to you by the pound, so yeah, it is a little bit more expensive in order for you to get it.
So my advice to everybody is just make friends with a gutter guy, so at least okay, what stuff is got the value. Because if you just run into Home Depot or Lowe's, you're not going to get the nicer stuff, and there's different hurdles for it.
Yes.
Now I'll switch to Sam. Now your side of the question is everything outside of the gutter system, all the parts and stuff like that you had to research and buy. What was that like, and what are some lessons learned from that?
Well, for me, that goes back to watching a lot of YouTube videos to see what other people were doing. And when you see what they're doing, then you start to understand the type of connection you need. And so you just start shopping for who sells IVC tote connections. And believe it or not, there's entire kits on how to do this. And one of the kits I ordered fastens them together, like you said, in tandem. So that's how the ones on the top are able to feed water to the ones on the bottom, because of parts I've ordered from these kits, and they're already custom made to fit the end to end to make it happen. So that's how that ended up happening with the parts. So I basically had to come up with what I wanted it to look like, and then I start shopping for parts, and then I merge the ideas together based on the parts I find.
Oh, very cool. Do you think your second, third phases will be easier or more challenging based on what you've experienced so far?
I'm going to say they're going to be easy. The phases that I have in front of me now really is distribution. And I've given myself a lot of options initially from the initial setup for distribution, but ideally I'd like to get like a 12-volt pump that runs off of solar. And so I have a small solar generator running 12 volts to pump it out. And then I can send the water anywhere I want in the yard from there and not have to rely on it being gravity fed.
Yeah.
So that would be a redundant system separate from the power of the house. And, as we talked before about solar, I like redundancy and options. So that's kind of my final phase really for this, is a 12-volt pump and distribution. But as it sits now, I can gravity feed it into the garden because it's pretty high.
That's good. Yeah, we were talking in the pre-show about distribution. I brought it up to the guys and everything because I was thinking, man, what about people that have a property and they have an animal paddock over here and then they got their garden over there? And a lot of the videos I've seen with people doing rain catchment, all the storage is right by the house, which is great. But, a large amount of what you're going to use the water for is going to be away from your house. So what are some effective, inexpensive ways to be able to move that water? We were having that little sidebar conversation, and not really having to rely on power too much, if at all, And when I was telling everybody in the pre-show, I was like, maybe we should set up like little mini water towers, like put one over in the paddock, one over by the animal place, so there's water there. So if you want to feed the animals or water the plants, that's great. But in an emergency situation, we've had this dry season and a bunch of forest fires and stuff, and people around properties, they tend to have a lot of woods around them, either on the property or adjacent to it. So if you got some kind of a little pump system and a couple of IBC totes, at least you can wet down your areas and hope that they don't catch fire. So people are wondering, well, why would I do that? Well, those are a couple of good reasons right there. Plus, if something ever happened to your storage tanks over by the house or the house itself, at least you got some redundancy. Moving the water from A to B, I mean, odds are you probably have to put some PVC in the ground, so you're not, stepping over it or, running into it. The Romans did some very innovative things using gravity to move water, so it can be done pretty inexpensively. So when you guys are all doing your research on these projects, keep that in mind. It doesn't have to be right away, because, here's the thing. If we worry about planning out every exact thing, we'd never start on any project. So I was very proud, Sam, that you did your planning and everything, and then finally said, you know what, let me just do this phase. And it was really, this was like version 2.0, because you already had 1.0 with the rain barrels. So, and I've learned that with my solar stuff,
Yes.
and I don't even have solar on my house. Everything is mobile. So, moving from this kind of solar to that kind of solar and different panels and connectors and all that stuff. So it's a real thing, folks. It's a real thing. I got a question for you, okay? Because again, in all the videos, people are like, oh yeah, go find some used totes or barrels with honey or pickle juice or whatever, and blah, blah, blah. And again, it's one of those things like, go get free pallets. In theory, it sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard to find these things for free. Okay. But let's just say you do, you still got to wash them out. How do you know these things don't have holes in them? I mean, what was your testing process for making sure these IBC totes weren't cracked?
Right. Well, the first thing we did is we did the price shopping, and we found a nursery up in Brooksville that obtains them from places. Make a long story short, I change gears on this. Before I retired, one of the places that I serviced had these totes, so I became familiar with them. So this idea goes back a couple of years now, that I had this idea to build this thing. And so I talked to the guys there at the plant about these totes, and all of them, well, not all, most of them were coming in containing food grade material, because they were producing basically flavored drinks. So all of it was tested, clean, sanitized coming in the door, with the exception of the petroleum products that were used for the machinery, and all that stuff was kept separate. So, I, in my mind, I already knew that, I wanted A, food grade, not B, some kind of fuel or whatever, toxin, So I knew that ahead of time. So that became the thing that I was looking for. So then you start price shopping. Like I said, we found a place in Brooksville that was used to obtaining these food grade materials and reselling them, basically buying them cheap or getting them free or whatever. Now, going back to the place where I was learning about them that had them, a lot of these places that have them, the food grade material, they're only used for single use. So there's a lot of them. A lot of people come to these places with their trailers and pick them up for free or very little cost, go somewhere, clean them up, and then resell them to people like us that are looking for them. So it's kind of a market for this.
Okay.
So we were comfortable with the people we got them from, because that's what they were doing for people. They were already obtaining them, cleaning them, and reselling them. Like I said, Nate found them for about $25 a piece less. I don't know his source. I know that he probably did some research. So I know they're available, but like I said, my experience is a lot of these people that use them in different manufacturing plants and stuff, use them one time, and then they go out to be given away or thrown away, which surprised me because I've seen them $100 a piece, easily.
So did you get all the totes that you wanted, or in your future phases, are you going to scoop up some more?
Just talking to you on this show, I had an idea. I think I'm going to utilize some of the extra rain barrels that are not being used on other areas of the property for runoff. That way I've got water all over the place. With stuff I've already got on hand, all I have to do is add another couple of downspouts to things.
Yeah.
That's not something I had thought of until the day we set it up the other day with Alex, because he's looking at the pole barn and the other structures, and I got to thinking, wait a minute, we do have more barrels. So I don't know that I'm going to do more IBC totes on the property. I think they hold over 200 gallons each, and there's 4 of them.
Yeah.
So,
and every place doesn't need as much water, so it's good to have a little variety, to spread it out. Alex, I got a question for you. So a couple years ago, I was working on trying to sketch out like a bug out utility trailer kind of thing. Okay. And with solar panels and water, filtration, all kinds of cool stuff. So it just got me to the point, and I'm like, man, I wonder if, because I'm a big advocate for land-based arrays for solar, and people putting solar panels on pergolas and stuff like that. And I'm like, I wonder if there's a reason why, especially if you have some property, why couldn't you sit there and just build like a pergola type structure, okay? Put some kind of a metal roof on it, right? Something that's good at channeling the water, and you throw your solar array on top of that, and then you have your gutters there and stuff. So then, after listening to you earlier about pitch, since when you're doing your gutter systems, if they have solar panels on their roof, does that change the pitch of the water or how you angle things?
No, it doesn't do anything because you put the gutters on the eave. So, and plus when they put on the roof, when they put the solar, you still have a gap because they put them on these brackets. So the water's still going to run through that, and plus on top of the solar panels, and just go right
and run off. Okay.
Right to the gutter.
Yeah, because it'd be like two different flows of water, because the part of the roof that doesn't have panels, the water's going to run under the panels, and then the rain that's hitting the panels is going to join up.
Yeah. So it wouldn't affect it at all.
Oh, okay. So then I have to work more on my idea. I'm pretty big on trying to, kill 2 or 3 birds with one stone, because then you could also put your IBC totes under your pergola solar array.
Yeah.
So you keep your gutters short and your downspout short. And since the solar stuff is water resistant, was it IP67, whatever it is, anyways, it probably wouldn't take a lot of consideration to, you don't want water building up sitting under the electronics of the solar. As long as everything's flowing, it should just should be good to go.
I mean, I've done. I remember years ago, went to a farmhouse to put gutters, and I did put gutters on a structure that they have, which it was just made for catching water, but it was just one piece of gutter, which is real low to the ground too. But I think it was meant to feed, to give water to the animals they have, and it had just like a nice little bucket or tote at the end of it.
Oh, very cool.
I didn't even need no ladder just to do it, but it was just just a pitched roof, metal roof, and the owner of the house did it himself, and I just went and put the gutters up there. So
I've seen I've seen some pictures online and references and articles about, well, you can sit there and just put a tarp out there. I mean, a tarp is gonna sag. The sun is gonna wear it out sooner or later. But I guess in a improvised situation, you could probably use a tarp. But water is heavy. So, I mean, if you're going to go to the point you're going to build enough of a wood frame, to hold the tarp, might as well put the metal. I mean, how much can metal roof cost?
Well, you know what the thing is that they have metal roof
Uh-huh.
panels, but they also have like this other kind of like pan roof type, which is a lot cheaper that you can
Okay.
probably buy at like maybe Home Depot or those, or like mobile Home Depot. I mean, at least there's one down the street from where I live,
Yeah.
and they sell you the panels, so you can put them
Okay.
together, and they're like
Oh.
real thin, But if you just use them to have the water just run through, that works perfectly.
Like cookie sheet thin?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. See, I'm learning more stuff, man. Cookie sheet. All right. Let's see. We talked about that. Okay.
I'll send it.
Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna do a little round table with you guys, and then we'll call it a night. So let's see. All right, Alex, you got any final thoughts or anything you want to share?
Let's see. Well, right now I'm still trying to learn it on the water catchment. There's so many variations, but
Yeah.
um, I guess just make sure you use the right tools, right filtration, screening, and of course, like Nate was asking about the shingle roof part. That is a good question, but that's because the shingle roof have things that can run off with it. Like you got little
Yeah.
dirt and rocks. I mean, they use tar and things like that. But if you have a good filtration system, and I guess you can boil the water too, or whatnot. I think it'll work just fine. But metal roof, and I would say metal roof is probably the best. But
Yeah.
not everybody has a metal roof or can afford metal roofs, so you got to
Yeah.
improvise with what you have. So
And they don't like the noise.
yeah.
Yeah. All right, that sounds good. All right, Sam, how about you? What are your final thoughts?
Well, first of all, I encourage everybody to do it. It's not difficult, and it's it's a very good idea for a lot of different reasons. And if you feel uncomfortable doing it yourself, reach out to Alex or some other expert that's accustomed to doing it and work with them to get it done. But either way, I encourage people to do it. And if anybody needs a parts list, they can reach out to me, and I will share what I have obtained to make this happen. And any future parts I may have to get. I still haven't purchased the pump because I haven't settled on exactly what I want as far as that to go. I've got two different ones in my basket, and I got to decide which one I want. But I definitely encourage people to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, hopefully this video is helping some people get encouraged to do it, or to step out of the chair and get out there and start doing it, more planning, or start building it. And one thing I like to emphasize on whenever we're talking about stuff that involves trades, I have a lot of friends that are in the trades doing various businesses, putting in floorings, gutters, all kinds of different things. These people have these experiences, these skills, and they do this for a living. Okay. So a lot of times people approach projects, they want to go for the cheapest dollar, and just remember, they do it as a business. So you need to keep compensation in mind. Okay. And also respect that they're your friend and they're not your contractor, and treat them a certain way or whatever. It's a partnership. Okay. Sam did all this research, bought all these materials and stuff. And then whatever Alex and Sam did together, okay, they did it as a partnership. Okay. And in part because they're friends. Friends would love to help each other. And I have so many friends in our network that do that stuff. And sometimes, Sam's Mr. King of bartering. Okay. People always love to barter products and skills and services and stuff. So don't expect stuff for free, when it comes to trade stuff. Okay. But work things out. Cindy's helped me out a couple times, and I always like to mention social. What did I call it? Man, I forget. Social capital. There you go.
Okay.
I think it's important. So it doesn't have to be a tit for tat. And you know what? You can help somebody out without something in return a couple times, and then when something does come around, if they're good people, they're going to remember. And if you hang out, they're going to want to return the favor. Okay, in some way. So and that's all part of building community. And that's one of the main things that we try to do with this podcast is encourage people to connect, network, develop friendships, and build community. With that, we will close out tonight. Thank you, Alex, for joining us and sharing your expertise and experience. It was great. Sam, thank you very much again. Look forward to hanging out with both of you guys soon. And everybody else, hey, please like and subscribe, share the podcast, meet people, say hello, build some community, and come out to some of our events. If you have any questions, my email is right there on the screen, 2guysmakingtribe@gmail.com, or make some comments in some of the videos. And hey, everyone enjoy the rest of the weekend, and thank you for joining, and we will see you next time.
Good night.
Good night.